what he's doing and what a what a role he has taken on with this team. And there's a lot of discussion of best ever with LeBron right now. Where do you stand on this subject?
Well, people get into that all the time, and I always laugh because it's just so wrong. Because in a team sport, you can't pick the best player. You have to pick people by positions. LeBron's the best 3 to ever play the game. There's no question in my mind about that. But to compare him to Michael Jordan, Michael's a 2. There's different skills involved playing the 2.
Rick Barry doesn't respect LeBron James, not his legacy, not his leadership, not even his emotions. And what he said in early 2025 sent shockwaves through locker rooms that the mainstream media still hasn't fully caught up to. This wasn't a hot take. This wasn't a debate show soundbite manufactured for clicks. This was one of basketball's most brutally honest legends, a man who has never once softened a word in his entire life, sitting down and deliberately dismantling everything LeBron James has built his public image on, piece by piece. And here's what makes it hit different. Barry didn't just criticize LeBron's game. He went after something far more personal, far more damaging. He called LeBron emotionally unstable, and then he said something that stopped everyone in the room cold. The whole league already knows it. So the question you have to ask yourself right now is, if this is what legends are saying in 2025, what does that mean for the greatest debate in basketball history? Stay with me, because this story goes a lot deeper than you think.
Oh, no, please don't even put me in the same class as Steph Curry. This guy's in a class by himself. So don't even do that. That's not even fair to Steph Curry.
Okay, all right. I mean, you could shoot from 35 feet with your eyes closed.
No, I can't. Steph Curry he's like an anomaly. There's never been anybody like him. I don't know if I'm down the road. Hopefully somebody will come along that I can enjoy as much as I've watched Steph Curry and enjoyed him.
You see, this is why people say Rick Barry is humble. And Rick, I have to start with this particular question because
Rick Barry has never been the kind of man who sugarcoats anything. If you know his history, you know this is a man who once said teammates weren't good enough to their faces in the middle of a locker room without blinking. He shot free throws underhanded when the entire world laughed at him, and he never changed because he knew he was right. That's who Rick Barry is. So when Rick Barry decides to speak on LeBron James in early 2025, you don't brush it off, you lean in. And what Barry said wasn't just criticism, it was a verdict. He made it crystal clear, LeBron James, in his eyes, does not possess the mental and emotional makeup of a true all-time great leader. Not the kind that commands unconditional respect from peers, not the kind that legends quietly nod to when the conversation comes up in private. Barry's position was direct, unfiltered, and delivered with the confidence of a man who believes history will prove him right. The room reportedly went quiet, because when someone with Barry's credibility says something like that, you don't laugh it off, you sit with it.
I mean, I think obviously I've been in the game for a while, so I kind of know what to expect. And, obviously, one, you got to take care of your body, but more importantly, you got to take care of your mind. Being a professional athlete, if your mind is not as sharp as possible or as clear as possible, then you're not going to be able to perform at a high level. I think, seeing what our team is capable of doing, even before, the big acquisition of picking up Luka, I thought we had a good chance of making a good run. So I wanted to make.
Now let's be clear about something, because this is where a lot of people are going to want to dismiss Barry and call it hate or jealousy. But that's the easy route. Let's actually break down what he meant. When Barry used the words emotionally unstable, he wasn't talking about LeBron throwing chairs or screaming on the court. He was talking about something far more subtle and far more damaging to a legacy. The pattern of behavior that shows up when things don't go LeBron's way. Think about it. How many times have we watched LeBron visibly check out during a tough stretch of a season? How many times has his body language on the bench told a completely different story than what he says in the post-game press conference? How many teammates over the years have quietly distanced themselves, not publicly, not loudly, but in ways the basketball world absolutely noticed? Barry's point, according to those who were present, was this: LeBron has masterfully built a public image of composure and leadership, but behind that image, the emotional reactions, the behind-the-scenes maneuvering, the way he responds to criticism from peers, it tells a very different story. And in 2025, with LeBron's career in its final chapter, that story is finally starting to crack through the surface. And here's what should make every LeBron fan uncomfortable. Barry isn't saying this out of nowhere. He's saying it because he's watched the pattern repeat itself for over 2 decades. Because here's the thing nobody wants to say out loud in 2025. The evidence has been building for years. We've seen the sideline moments, the games where LeBron's energy completely shifts when the team isn't performing, and suddenly the body language changes, the huddles feel different, and teammates start looking anywhere but at him for leadership. Those moments don't happen with Jordan, they didn't happen with Kobe, they don't happen with the guys Barry grew up watching and competing against. We've seen the teammate fallouts, not one, not two, but a recurring pattern across multiple teams, multiple cities, multiple rosters, where the relationship starts electric and promising, and somewhere along the way, quietly, the dynamic fractures. And somehow, every single time, LeBron is never the one at fault in the story that gets told publicly. Convenient, right? We've seen the media plays, the way criticism gets responded to, not directly, not with the confidence of a man secure in his greatness, but through layers, through PR management, through social media posts timed perfectly, through associates and allies who handle the narrative so LeBron's hands stay clean. Barry's argument is that all of this is a symptom of someone who is deeply, privately, emotionally reactive, but has spent an entire career building infrastructure to hide it. And if that's true, that's not a basketball criticism, that's a character question, and character questions follow you into history. Now here's where it gets really interesting, and this is the part that the media is not touching right now. Barry's opinion is not isolated. Multiple people connected to the league, former players, coaches, front office voices, have expressed versions of this same sentiment privately. The difference is that most of them have business relationships, endorsement connections, media contracts, or simply aren't willing to absorb the fan base backlash that comes the moment you say anything critical about LeBron James publicly. Barry doesn't care about any of that. He never has. That's precisely why he said what others only whisper. In early 2025, the conversations happening behind closed doors in basketball circles are reportedly more candid than anything you're seeing on television. People who spent years carefully navigating the politics of criticizing LeBron are starting to speak more freely because the window of his career is closing, and when that window fully closes, the revisionism stops and the honest reckoning begins. And Barry just decided not to wait for that window to close. He started the reckoning early, and that, right there, is why this story is so significant. Predictably, the moment fragments of Barry's comments started circulating in basketball conversations online in 2025, the reactions split exactly the way you'd expect. LeBron's fan base, one of the most loyal and fierce in sports history, went straight to the attack. Barry was called bitter, jealous, irrelevant, a man from a different era who doesn't understand what it takes to navigate the modern game while also building a business empire and maintaining a public image at scale. Those are fair arguments, by the way. They deserve to be heard. But then, something interesting happened. Even within LeBron's own support base, there were quiet pockets of acknowledgement. Not loud, not trending, but present. Fans who have followed every chapter of LeBron's career and privately recognized the pattern Barry was pointing to, who looked at the timeline and couldn't fully dismiss what was being said. That quiet acknowledgement is more telling than any loud defense, because the loudest defenses often come from people who are protecting an idea of LeBron, the brand, the icon, the narrative. The quieter voices? Those come from people who actually watched every game, every season, every moment, and know there's something real being touched here. So let's zoom out. Let's ask the question that actually matters here. Can someone be historically great and emotionally unstable at the same time? The answer, honestly, is yes. History is full of complicated, emotionally volatile greatness. This isn't a disqualifier from legacy. But here's what is worth debating. Can someone be considered the greatest leader the sport has ever seen if the people around him, the peers who played alongside legends of their own eras, quietly but consistently question his emotional foundation? Because that's LeBron's specific claim, not just great player, greatest leader, greatest winner, greatest of all time. And if Rick Barry and the quiet chorus behind him are right, then that specific claim deserves scrutiny. What Barry did in 2025 wasn't petty, it wasn't jealousy dressed up as analysis. It was a challenge, a direct challenge to the version of LeBron James that has been carefully constructed and fed to the public for 2 decades. And now that the challenge is out there, it doesn't go back in the box. History doesn't grade on the PR campaign. History grades on what was real. Rick Barry said what a lot of people in basketball circles had been thinking but were too careful to say out loud. Whether you agree with him or not, the conversation he started in 2025 is one that isn't going away, not as LeBron's career winds down and the all-time debates heat back up. Emotionally unstable or simply misunderstood, calculating or just protecting himself in a brutal industry, the greatest leader the game has ever seen, or the greatest brand the game has ever produced? That's the question Barry just put on the table, and it's sitting there waiting for an answer. Drop your take in the comments right now. Do you think Rick Barry is speaking facts, or is this just a legacy hit job on the greatest player of his generation? And if you want more real, unfiltered basketball stories that the mainstream media won't touch, hit subscribe, because this channel goes where others won't. We'll see you in the next one.